Imani is surprised to see Adam sitting in her conference room. The air in the Knowing Magic office had its usual high-gloss hum. Heels clicking on polished floors, sleek voices floating over espresso machines, and the rhythmic thump of creativity in motion. Imani Knowing moved through it all like she always did, with grace, power, and a kind of effortlessness that made interns stare and executives straighten their ties. But the moment she turned the corner and saw him, her whole body paused. Adam Vance. He was in her conference room, relaxed in the designer chair like he owned it, legs stretched out, camera bag slouched beside him like an old friend. He wore black jeans, a soft gray tee, and a smirk that made her pulse skip. Damn him. The man hadn't aged so much as evolved. More lines around his eyes, sure, but also more depth, more presence. Imani didn't let the surprise show on her face, not fully. Her honey blonde locks, pulled back into a low knot, swayed slightly as she stepped in with the same calm confidence that had graced the cover of Elle 3 months ago. "Adam," she said smoothly, walking to the head of the table. "Didn't expect you until Thursday." "I got in early," he replied, voice like dark velvet. "Thought I'd catch the lighting in Soho before it fades. Figured I'd stop by." She nodded, cool and unreadable, but inside, her mind flickered with snapshots. Paris. Him, barefoot in their tiny flat, chasing the dawn light across her skin with a lens. His laugh in the rain. The way he used to say her name, like it was a song. He'd been the only one who ever asked her to slow down. She hadn't. Now here he was, booked to shoot the most important cover of her career. Just for 1 week. After that, he'd be gone again, off to some mountain, some war zone, some vanishing tribe, off to disappear. And here she was, standing in a life built on sharp choices and high standards, wondering why her perfectly curated world suddenly felt unsteady. "You been well?" he asked, his gaze steady on hers. She smiled, bright, controlled, professional, always. But her heartbeat was already rewriting the story. Imani closed the door to her office and leaned against it for a long second. The buzz of the office faded behind the thick glass. She pulled her phone from her pocket and hit mom. Without thinking, it only rang once. "Imani, everything okay?" "He's here," she said. Her voice came out quieter than she meant it to. Adam showed up early. A pause, then, "And what do you want me to say to that?" Imani walked slowly to her desk, heels clicking in the silence now. She sat down carefully, like her bones were suddenly made of glass. "I didn't expect to see him until Thursday. She hesitated. "I wasn't ready." "You weren't ready 10 years ago either. And yet, you made your choice." Sadie Knowing's voice was clipped, but not unkind, just sharp enough to cut through the fog. "You are not that girl in Paris, with stars in her eyes and a suitcase full of half-finished ideas." "I know." Imani stared at her reflection in the black mirror of her laptop screen. She looked like herself, immaculate, composed, golden locks pulled tight, but her shoulders were tense. "I didn't build this business so you could give it up for a man, Imani. This company is our family's legacy. It has your name on the masthead, our name." "I know. So keep it professional. He's talent, nothing more. We've worked too hard for too long to get here and throw it all away for someone who already walked away once." The line went quiet. Then, in a softer voice, "I'm not saying don't feel what you feel. Just don't forget who you are." Imani couldn't speak. She just nodded, even though her mother couldn't see her. "I'll call you later," Sadie added, like punctuation. "Love you. Love you too." When the call ended, Imani let the phone fall into her lap and sank deeper into her chair. She stared up at the ceiling like it might hold answers. Her mother hadn't said anything she didn't already know. And that was the problem. Sadie Knowing was rarely wrong, and Adam Vance had always been the one exception. Knowing Magic Studio, Manhattan Studio, was all white walls, exposed brick, and sunlight, curated imperfection at its finest. Racks of couture lined the space like soldiers in formation, ready to be styled into art. Hair and makeup bustled in one corner. Stylists whispered, assistants scrambled, and yet the air shifted the moment Adam stepped behind the camera. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Presence had always been his loudest language. "Imani," he said softly from across the studio, just as the model was stepping onto the mark. "Come here a sec." She froze. Stylists paused. The air crackled. She crossed the room slowly, keeping her expression neutral, though every nerve in her body was on alert. Adam held up a contact sheet, raw stills from the test shots he'd taken earlier that morning. "This light's too clean, too cold. You didn't hire me to shoot catalog work." Imani took the sheet from him, barely glancing at it. "You need a different light setup? I need you to stop pretending you're not in the room." She looked up at him sharply. His voice hadn't changed, but something in it sliced clean through her. "You used to create," he said, lower now. "You used to feel. Remember Paris?" Her throat tightened. Paris. Late night shoots with music spilling out of broken windows. Her in vintage Mugler, barefoot on cobblestones, spinning for him just because he asked. No agents, no brands, just the thrill of building something from nothing. "I'm not that woman anymore," she said. "That's a lie." Adam replied, eyes locked on hers. "You're just scared she still exists." She handed the contact sheet back and turned to leave. "Let's get the shot, Adam." But as she walked back to her seat by the monitor, the weight of his words clung to her like humidity. Her team adjusted lights, the model posed, cameras clicked, but Imani's mind wasn't in the room anymore. It was in a tiny Paris apartment with paint-chipped walls and him pressed against her back, whispering about quitting New York and building something slower, something real. It was in the way he looked at her now. Like he still saw that version of her. Like she wasn't hiding behind editorial calendars and market projections. Back then, she'd chosen ambition over intimacy. And it had paid off, in magazine covers, in awards, in power. So why now did she feel like she was losing something just by looking at him? The model shifted, and Adam caught it. Snap, snap, snap. Imani leaned forward to check the frame and forgot, just for a second, to protect her heart. There it was, the shot. Alive, bold, full of heat, and somehow, unmistakably, personal. At Knowing Magic Studio locations, late evening, empty now. The team had cleared out hours ago. Racks were wheeled away, lights unplugged, makeup stations wiped clean. The studio had gone quiet, except for the low buzz of fluorescent lights and the occasional creak of the building settling in the night. Imani stood by the monitor, arms crossed, watching the final images cycle through the screen. Every shot was perfect. Of course it was. Adam never missed. Still, her stomach wouldn't settle. "You stayed," Adam said from behind her. She didn't turn. "I work here." He chuckled, low and dry. "Yeah, right." Silence. Then, "You said I was scared." She faced him now, her voice steady. "Of who I used to be. That's not true." He didn't argue, just looked at her, waiting. "I didn't leave Paris because I was afraid," she continued. "I left because I knew what I wanted. And it wasn't waking up every morning hoping you'd still be in the mood to chase the same dream." "That's fair," Adam said quietly. "Is it?" She took a step closer, heat rising in her chest. "You made me feel like choosing my ambition meant betraying us. Like love had to come wrapped in sacrifice." Adam didn't flinch. It did. Back then. We were kids trying to build a future on passion and rent money. His voice softened. "But we're not those people anymore." Imani studied him. There was a steadiness in his eyes now, something anchored. He wasn't chasing light around the world to escape anything. He was chasing it because it mattered to him, because he knew what he loved. She envied that. "Why this cover?" she asked. "Why now?" Adam leaned against the edge of a table, arms folded. "Your assistant reached out. Said it was a legacy issue. I figured if I was ever going to see you again, this was it." "So you came back for closure?" "I came back because I never had it," he said. "Because part of me always thought if I saw you again, and you looked at me the way you used to, maybe I'd know." Imani's jaw clenched. She hated how easy it would be to slip into old rhythms, into his arms, into the soft space where love had once lived. But her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "Keep it professional." She looked away. "Well, you got the shot. The issue will be beautiful." "Yeah," he said, standing straight. "It will." He grabbed his bag and moved toward the door, then stopped. "1 week, Imani," he said without turning. "I'm in town for 1 week. I won't ask for anything you're not willing to give, but don't lie to yourself about what you're feeling, not again." Then he walked out. And Imani, still standing in the middle of her empire, felt like she was 19 again, raw, breathless, and right on the edge of something she couldn't name. Inside the Knowing Magic conference room, the morning light poured through the glass walls of the conference room. Imani stood at the head of the table, palms pressed to the cool marble surface. Around her, her team waited. Stylists, layout designers, junior editors, all eyes sharp, ready. She cleared her throat. "First off, stunning work yesterday. The shots are clean, elevated, emotional. Adam delivered." A few glances exchanged across the table. Everyone felt it, that something between her and Adam. They were professionals. But they weren't blind. Imani continued, keeping her tone even. "We're building the retrospective issue around the concept of legacy. I want a bold, cinematic narrative. Fashion that speaks to eras but makes a statement for the next generation." "Any specific direction for the layout?" asked Jules, her creative director. "Yes," Imani said. "Intimacy, restraint, and then impact." She clicked Hulamite and brought up a mock-up draft on the screen. Adam's shot lit up the wall. A black and white profile of the model mid-laugh, one shoulder bare, light catching on silk and skin like liquid gold. A masterpiece. Imani stared at it for a beat too long before she turned back to the room. "Let's anchor the cover story with this. Then build the theme of legacy around it, personal and professional." "Everyone good?" Nods. A few impressed murmurs. Work kicked into motion. But even as she issued directives and sorted tasks with her usual clarity, something buzzed quietly under the surface of her voice. Something unspoken, as if a door in her mind had opened and refused to close. Later that day, in Imani's office, with the lights dimmed, she waited until the office emptied out, then finally sat and pulled out her phone. No hesitation this time. She needed to talk to her mother, not just as her mentor, but as someone who'd loved hard, lost things, and kept moving anyway. Sadie picked up with her usual brusqueness. "That fast? You need more staff?" "No," Imani said, her voice quieter. "I need perspective." A pause. Then Sadie's tone softened. "Talk to me." "The shoot went beautifully," Imani began. "Adam's work is undeniable. The team respects him. It's all moving exactly the way it should, professionally. And personally," Imani hesitated. "I told you I wasn't that girl anymore. But standing in that room with him again, Mom, I didn't feel like I'd changed. I felt like I'd buried her." Sadie was silent on the line. Imani pressed on. "He didn't come back to chase me. He came to find peace, and maybe he's giving me a chance to do the same. Not by leaving everything behind, but by stopping long enough to feel it." "You still love him?" Sadie asked, direct. "I think I never stopped," Imani said. "But I didn't know how to hold love and ambition without sacrificing one." "You're not me," Sadie replied after a moment. "I made choices so you wouldn't have to. You don't need to sacrifice either. But baby, You do need to be honest about what you want. Imani blinked back the sting in her eyes. Build the legacy, her mother said gently, but don't forget to live in it. I'm scared, Imani whispered. Good, Sadie said. It means it matters. They sat in silence on the line, mother and daughter connected by everything unsaid. Finally, Imani exhaled. Thank you, always. Admin called Imani. She was lost in thoughts staring at his work. Can we talk? Imani took a deep breath. Sure, when? We take a walk around the park. This evening at 6 p.m., if you are available. Okay. Imani hangs up and said a small prayer under her breath. Outside, walking the city, they strolled quietly at first, the envelope tucked into her hand like a secret. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. The silence between them buzzed with things that had gone unsaid for too long. Finally, she stopped walking. I've seen the guest list, she said, for the preview. Adam turned, surprised. You're not on it. I seen what I want to see. He laughed lightly, then looked at her with something heavier in his eyes. Then you've also seen what I saved for last. She didn't answer. Didn't have to. She had seen it. An intimate portrait from their Paris days, one he'd taken of her when she wasn't looking. She remembered the moment. Early morning, coffee in one hand, shirt slipping off one shoulder, laughter still lingering from the night before. She'd forgotten that woman existed. You kept it, she said, voice quieter now. Adam nodded. It was always the best thing I ever shot. Her walls started to crack then. Just a hairline fracture. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. He stepped closer. But I am. Imani looked up at him, every instinct in her screaming to keep the distance intact. But her chest betrayed her. It ached. Adam didn't touch her. He didn't have to. I never stopped, he said, voice soft. Loving you. The words landed like a punch. I told myself it was just time, that we outgrew it. But I've traveled the world trying to outrun you, and I never could. Imani's breath caught. I'm leaving again, he added. 1 week from now, 12 months, remote expedition, no Wi-Fi, no calls, no second chances. She shook her head. You don't get to come in here, open all the doors, and expect we to walk through them. I don't expect anything, Adam said. I'm just asking if maybe, for the first time in years, you could stop running too. Just for a moment. Just be here. Her poised image, perfect, polished, Imani Knowing, began to blur, not because she was weak, but because she finally let herself feel. And what she felt was terrifying, because she didn't know how to want both things, her future and her past, her ambition and her heart. But maybe for the first time, she was willing to try. Imani hadn't even sat down before Sadie slid the folder across the desk. No greeting, no preamble, just business. Imani opened it slowly, scanning the top page. Her stomach dropped halfway through the first paragraph. Tokyo, a full year, new division, international creative director, editorial control, a global relaunch with her name printed on every page. It was everything she'd worked for. She looked up. This is real? Sadie nodded once. They want you to lead it. You'd be in Tokyo by the end of the month. Silence settled between them. Imani looked back down at the paper, her pulse climbing. The opportunity was dazzling. She'd dreamed of global impact, of pushing knowing magic into the international conversation, of walking into rooms that were still off limits to even the most powerful names in fashion. But now the dream felt lopsided. Say something, Sadie said. I need to think. Think fast. We have to respond by Monday. Imani closed the folder. Her fingers rested on the cover like it might catch fire. Sadie leaned back in her chair, eyes narrowing just slightly. This is what you always wanted. I know. So what's the hesitation? Imani didn't answer. Not directly. Not yet. Sadie folded her arms. You and Adam. Imani blinked. That obvious? Sadie didn't smile. To me, yes. I thought it was over. I thought I buried it. Maybe you did. Sadie's voice softened. But people don't stay buried if part of you is still breathing for them. Imani looked down. The Tokyo offer felt like destiny. But Adam felt like something more dangerous, something real. A crack in her armor, a future she couldn't control. I'm not telling you to give anything up, Sadie said. Not the job, not the man. But make sure, whatever choice you make, you can live with it. Their eyes locked. Don't build an empire and fill it with regrets. Imani nodded slowly, the weight of the moment pressing into her chest. When she left the office, the folder felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, and her heart, somehow, even more. The folder sat unopened on her coffee table. The lights were low. Her heels lay abandoned by the door, and she curled up on her sofa in an oversized shirt, legs tucked underneath her, holding a mug she wasn't drinking from. Tokyo, Adam, legacy, love. It wasn't a matter of choosing one over the other anymore. It was about what she was willing to risk, what she was willing to feel. Imani had built her world with discipline, with control. But love wasn't something you scheduled into your calendar. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adam. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., the gallery. Come if you want the truth. She stared at the screen for a long time, then picked up the folder, opened it, read every line of the offer again, and closed it. Then she cried, not from pain but from knowing. She couldn't keep splitting herself in half. The gala, the space buzzed with VIPs and flashes from every direction. Champagne flowed. Conversations sparkled. Photographs framed in minimalist black and white lined the walls. Adam's work, raw and poetic. Landscapes, war zones, cultures on the edge of extinction. Imani entered quietly, solo. No entourage, just her, in a sleek black gown that stopped time. Adam spotted her instantly. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. Straighter, calmer, like she grounded him just by being in the room. She drifted through the crowd, nodding, sipping, waiting. Until the final room, at the end of the hall, was the photo. Imani froze when she saw it. Her, backlit by morning light, hair tousled, one strap fallen down her shoulder, laughing, really laughing, like she hadn't a care in the world. It wasn't posed, it wasn't perfect, it was honest. The room hushed behind her as others gathered around. The plaque below read, Imani Paris, before the world called her name. Her throat tightened. She didn't hear him walk up, but she felt him beside her. I never meant to keep it hidden, Adam said. I meant it to be a love letter, quiet, just for me. But then I realized it was always about you, not who you became, who you are. She turned to him. And what if I still don't know who that is? Then let's find out together. She let herself look at him fully then. The steadiness in his eyes, the promise, the risk. I got an offer, she whispered. Tokyo, a year. His jaw didn't move. Go. She blinked. What? Go, he said again. If it's what you want. But, if there's even a sliver of you that wants to stay, don't let fear dress up like ambition and make the call for you. The room faded. Only his voice remained. I'll love you either way. But I won't be waiting. This is the only week I have. And with that, he turned and walked away, leaving her in front of the photo that had captured a moment she didn't realize she'd lost. Imani's apartment, just before dawn. The city hadn't woken yet. Manhattan was still and dim, that rare space between night and morning. Imani stood in front of the mirror, barefoot, her reflection unguarded. She'd spent her whole life mastering the art of control, how to dress it, how to spin it, how to wear it like armor. But standing there now, with no makeup, no audience, no script, she finally saw it. Her ambition had never been the problem. Her fear of losing herself in anything that wasn't planned, that was the real cage. And Adam, he never asked her to choose. He only asked her to show up. She grabbed her coat. Airport terminal, JFK, 6:08 a.m. International departures. Adam stood in line at gate 42, duffel slung over his shoulder, passport in hand. The crowd buzzed around him, faces tired, boarding calls echoing. The boarding sign flashed, final call. He looked ahead, ready to move. Then he heard it. Adam. He turned. Imani was breathless, coat barely buttoned, heels abandoned. She'd clearly run the last stretch. People turned to stare, but she didn't care. She walked straight up to him, heart in her throat. Eyes wide with clarity. I'm not going to Tokyo. His brows lifted. Why not? I didn't say no, she added. But I'm not running away either. He just waited. I've spent my life chasing the future, she said, but I never made room for now. I thought love would make me smaller, that it would slow me down, but I'm done hiding behind that lie. She took a breath. I don't want to give up what I've built, and I don't want you to stop chasing the light either. But maybe we can figure it out. Together. He stared at her a moment too long. Her stomach dropped. Then he smiled. That slow, crooked, damn you missed me smile that always undid her. You really showed up, he said softly. I had to, she said. I've never meant anything more. He looked down at his boarding pass, then tore it in half. You sure? She nodded. Let's build something that holds both of us. And just like that, in the middle of a noisy, unromantic terminal, something cracked open and filled the space between them. Not a promise to stay, not a sacrifice, a decision, a beginning. They didn't rush. No dramatic announcements, no social media posts, no champagne toasts. Just silence, sunlight, breath. The first thing they did when they walked into her apartment was turn off their phones. Adam dropped his bag by the door. Imani lit a candle, and for once, neither of them needed to speak. They spent the next few days in the kind of stillness neither had known in years. No deadlines, no expectations. Just time. They cooked, they read, they laughed more than they expected to. And when the nights came, they talked. Deep, long, searching talks, piecing together the years they'd spent apart and the people they'd become. One morning, Adam sat on the floor sketching in a notebook, while Imani curled on the couch, tea in hand, hair wild and loose. I've been thinking about opening my own studio, he said suddenly. She looked over. You have? He nodded. I've always followed the story, wherever it went, but now, I think I finally have a reason to stay in one place. Imani's heart lifted, and a quiet fear stirred too. She never wanted him to shrink his world for her. But Adam read her face instantly. I mean settling down, he said. I mean building something that belongs to me, to us. A space where I don't have to leave just to feel alive. She smiled then. I could see that. Studio in Brooklyn, light-filled, wood floors, hanging your work, editing mine across the hall. Exactly, he said, leaning back. And maybe Tokyo's not off the table either, for both of us, just not all at once. Balance, she said softly. Yeah. He reached for her hand. Balance. They didn't solve everything in 3 days. Life wasn't a montage, but what they did do, what mattered, was make a choice. To try, to be honest, to stop letting fear set the pace. And whatever came next, career, love, legacy, they'd walk into it side by side. For the first time in a long time, Imani wasn't running. She was rooted. Dinner at Imani's apartment. The air smelled like roasted garlic and rosemary. Imani had cooked. Adam set the table, and Sadie, knowing, ever regal in a silk blouse and silver hoops, sat at the head like she'd built the house herself. Dinner started easy. Small talk, shared laughter, stories from the past. But halfway through her wine, Sadie leaned back, fixed her gaze on Adam, and said, So, let's talk about your intentions. Imani froze, fork midair. Adam didn't blink. Yes, ma'am. Sadie arched an eyebrow. You've spent most of your life chasing the next frame, the next story, always moving. My daughter is not a layover. She's not a city you photograph and leave behind. So tell me, why now? What makes you think I should trust you to stay? The room went quiet. Adam set down his glass. That's fair. He looked directly at Sadie. I didn't come back for convenience or comfort. I came back because I realized the most important thing I've ever seen was her. And I kept leaving because I didn't think I was enough for the kind of life she deserved. Imani's eyes flicked to him, startled. But I've grown, Adam continued. And I'm not here to ask her to give anything up. I'm here to build something with her. A home, a studio, a life that stretches for both of us. Sadie was quiet for a long beat. Then she looked at her daughter. You believe him? Imani nodded. I do. Sadie turned back to Adam, her voice softer now. Then don't just stay. Show up, every day. That's what trust is built on. Adam smiled, a little breathless. Yes, ma'am. And for the first time that night, Sadie smiled too. I'll bring the peach cobbler next time. Sunday morning, walk in Prospect Park. The sun was warm, filtered through tall oaks, and kids' laughter floated on the breeze. Imani and Adam strolled slowly, fingers interlaced, coffees in hand. The city felt lighter on Sundays, like it exhaled just for them. They stopped by a bench. Adam sat. Imani stood, stretching a little, golden locks catching the light. I've been thinking, he said, squinting up at her. That's never not dangerous, she teased, sipping her coffee. He smiled. I want us to buy a home together. Imani blinked. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm not asking you to move in or sign anything today, but I'm ready to find roots, Imani, real ones. I want to build a place we can grow into. She sat down beside him slowly. Adam, I know, he said gently. You're not ready, and I'm not pushing you. She looked at him, heart racing. I just need time. I've never had to think about home as something shared. I've only ever built my life around what I could control. I get that, he said. So let's make it simple. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded brochure. Subtle, unassuming. Real estate listings. Photos of brownstones, garden-level homes, light spilling across hardwood floors. I just want you to come with me, he said. House hunting. No pressure. Just help me choose one you might want to walk into someday. One that has room for the kind of life we could build. Room for the work, the peace, and yeah, maybe even a few wild little kids running through a big-ass backyard. Imani stared at him, speechless. I'm not asking for a yes, Adam said, voice low. Just come see what yes could look like. She smiled then, slow and unsure and perfect. Okay, she whispered. And in that moment, under a quiet sky, she didn't feel afraid. She felt ready to imagine. Late afternoon, touring the house. The house was nestled on a quiet street lined with trees that bent protectively overhead. The front porch wrapped like an embrace. Inside, sunlight spilled across oak floors, the windows wide and welcoming. Imani moved through each room slowly, her voice alive with wonder. This could be my reading nook, she said, tracing her fingers along the edge of a window seat. And the dining room, God, we could host real dinners here. Candlelight, jazz, full spreads. She paused in the hallway. And here's where I'd hang one of your prints, that black and white from Morocco. Adam followed her with quiet joy, just watching her vision unfold. They stepped into the master bedroom. Imani turned, eyes soft. Can I help decorate? With your blessing, I mean. Adam smiled. This house is for you, someday. It should look like you. Decorate every inch. I wouldn't have it any other way. She didn't answer, just leaned into his chest, letting herself dream out loud for the first time in a long time. Back patio, golden hour. Sadie stood with Adam by the railing, a glass of wine in her hand, watching Imani wander the yard, barefoot in the grass, already at home. You move fast, she said, not unkindly. Adam chuckled. I've moved too slow for too long. I'm ready for a lifetime with her, but I'm willing to wait until she's ready. Sadie turned to look at him directly. You have a ring? Adam reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, unopened. I bought it the day after I missed my flight. Sadie blinked, surprised. Then her expression softened. She took a sip of her wine, eyes following her daughter in the yard. She loves hard, so don't drop her. I won't, Adam said. I never will. Imani looked up at them just then, hair catching the sunset, laughter spilling across the lawn. And Adam knew he'd already found everything he'd ever been searching for. Dinner at home, just after sunset, candles flickered on the dining table. The food was warm, simple, takeout on porcelain plates. Imani and Adam sat across from each other, the light between them golden and low. They were laughing about something small, ordinary, when his phone lit up on the table. Again. He glanced at it and flipped it over, screen down. Imani's smile faded. That's the fourth time today, she said, gently but firm. Who keeps calling you, and don't say it's nobody. Adam sighed. The laugh lines around his eyes dropped into something more serious. It's Ken, my agent. Imani put down her fork. He's been pushing hard, Adam admitted. Wants me on another assignment, long form, remote, 6 months. The kind of thing I used to jump at. Are you going to? He looked at her. Steady. Honest. I told him I'm done with that life, that I'm not chasing stories anymore. Not like that. I want this now. He gestured around them. Us. And I'm not leaving. Ever. Imani searched his face. Are you sure? He reached across the table, his hand warm over hers. Yeah. I've spent enough time running toward the next thing. This is the only thing I want to stand still for. A quiet moment settled between them. Then Adam smiled, a little hopeful. Stay the night, he said, just to see what it's like. Waking up here, every morning, with me. Imani held his gaze, expression unreadable. Then she smiled, soft and sad. Maybe another time, she said gently, when I'm ready. Adam nodded, didn't press, just squeezed her hand once and let it go. They kept eating, no ultimatums, no rush. Just two people learning how to build something slow, something solid, one honest moment at a time. The office buzzed with energy, but Imani's focus fractured the moment Ken Vaughn walked in. He didn't wait to be invited. Imani, he said, smooth and insistent, slipping into the chair across from her desk. We need to talk about Adam. She folded her arms. I figured. Ken leaned in. This new assignment is major. National Geographic level exposure. Multi-country, exclusive access. It's not just good for him, it's good for his studio. The kind of project that cements legacy. With your name on the editorial end, you'd be the couple that reshapes visual storytelling. Imani's jaw tightened. He said no. He's thinking too small. He's got the momentum. You could help him see that. He listens to you. She didn't answer right away, but the seed was planted. Their home, that night. The fire was low, plates still on the table. Adam poured them both a glass of wine when Imani spoke, her voice calm but hesitant. Ken stopped by the office today. Adam looked up, instantly guarded. He wanted me to talk to you, she continued, about the assignment. He thinks it could elevate the studio, your work. Adam set his glass down hard. I said I wasn't going, he replied. We already talked about this. I know, she said carefully. He made a case. It's not about leaving forever, just a few months, and it could. Adam's chair scraped against the floor as he stood. You think I don't know what's good for me? You think I can't decide my own future? Adam, I told you I wasn't leaving. I thought we had an understanding. I thought this was finally real. It is, she said, rising. Then why are you trying to ruin it? His voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp, cracked with frustration, with hurt. I'm not, she said softly. I thought I was helping. Adam grabbed his jacket. I need air. The door closed behind him before she could say another word. Hours later, back at home, Imani sat curled on the couch, the room quiet around her. She hadn't moved since he left. When the door finally opened, she stood, but didn't speak. Adam walked in slowly, his shoulders tense, face tired. "I'm sorry," she said. "I wasn't trying to push, I just thought, maybe it could help you, your career." He walked to her, took her hands gently. "I have a career," he said. "I've made a name for myself already. No assignment will make it mean more. You know what will?" She looked up, eyes searching. "You," he said. "You're the only thing that makes any of this worth anything. I love you, Imani. Nothing comes before you again, not ever." Her breath hitched. He pulled her into his arms. They stood there like that for a long time. No more questions, no more convincing. Just truth, and a vow quietly kept. The next evening, their home. Adam returned just after 6, his shoulders relaxed, camera bag slung casually over one arm. The house smelled like jasmine and something sweet baking in the oven. "Imani," he called out. "Upstairs," she answered. He followed her voice to the bedroom and found her standing by the closet door. She was barefoot, wearing one of his old hoodies over silk shorts, eyes calm but unreadable. "Come here," she said softly. She opened the door and stepped aside. Inside, the once half-empty closet was full. Her heels lined up in neat rows. Her dresses hung beside his shirts. Her purses, jewelry, fragrances, all there. Her world integrated into his. Adam turned to her slowly. "I moved in today," Imani said. I needed to stop waiting for the perfect time and admit what I already knew." She looked up at him, voice steady. "It's time I come home to you." Adam's chest rose, visibly moved, his eyes never leaving hers. "You sure?" he asked, just above a whisper. "I'm in," she said, "all the way." He took a step back, then dropped to one knee. No fanfare, no speech. Just a small velvet box, pulled from his pocket and the truth in his voice. "Then let's do this right." He opened the box. Imani gasped. Not at the ring, though it was beautiful, but at the simplicity of it all. The moment, the man, the life they'd built, quietly, intentionally. She nodded, tears in her eyes, voice catching. "Yes." He slid the ring onto her finger. They stood, he held her. And for the first time in a long time, there were no questions left to ask. Only the beginning of everything. Imani's in the living room, later that night. The ring still felt new on her finger, like a secret she couldn't stop touching. Imani sat curled on the couch, barefoot, phone in hand, heart full. Her mother picked up on the first ring. "Hey mama," Imani said, unable to hold back her smile. "You sound different," Sadie replied immediately. "What happened?" "I moved in with Adam." A pause. Then, "Did he get on one knee?" Imani blinked. "How did you know?" Sadie laughed softly. "He told me about the ring the day you started decorating the house. That boy's been planning this since you picked out throw pillows." Imani shook her head, laughing now. "So are you going to give me your I told you so? Or?" "Depends," Sadie said. "You having something small? Or do I need a year to pull off a Knowings-level wedding?" Before Imani could answer, Adam appeared behind her, barefoot, grinning like a man who'd just won the whole damn lottery. "As soon as possible," he said loudly enough for Sadie to hear. Imani gave him a look. "Mom, what can you pull together by this weekend? Just something intimate, close friends, family." Sadie didn't miss a beat. "Give me 3 days and a florist who owes me a favor." "Thank you," Imani said, eyes glistening. "You're welcome, baby," Sadie replied, "and I'm proud of you." As Imani continued talking, Adam gently pulled her up from the couch. While she still had the phone pressed to her ear, he wrapped his arms around her waist and spun her in one big joyful circle. Imani squealed. "Adam, I'm on the phone. Sadie just laughed. Let him have his moment. He's waited long enough. Imani settled back into his chest, still holding the phone, still smiling, and for the first time in her life, everything, legacy, love, and the life she built was finally in the same room. Garden wedding, late afternoon on a Saturday. The backyard of their new home had been transformed. Twinkle lights hung from the trees. White folding chairs lined the lawn in 2 neat rows. The scent of fresh flowers mingled with warm spring air. A soft string quartet played something old, something timeless. Just close friends and family, intimate, real. Imani stood beneath a simple wooden arch draped in ivory linen and eucalyptus. Her dress was clean, classic, off-the-shoulder silk that moved like water when she walked. Her honey-blonde locks were pinned up in soft waves, a single gold pin tucked behind one ear. Adam stood across from her in a tailored navy suit, no tie, eyes never leaving hers. Sadie wiped away a quiet tear as she watched her daughter, poised, powerful, happy. The officiant kept it brief. No grand declarations, no theatrics, just 2 people, choosing each other with every word. When Adam said, "I'll never chase another thing that takes me away from you," and Imani replied, "You are the only thing I've ever wanted to keep still for," there wasn't a dry eye in the garden. "You may kiss," the officiant began, but Adam had already pulled her in. The crowd erupted into applause as they kissed beneath the lights, sunlight filtering through the trees, sealing a love that took years, miles, and growth to find its way home. They walked back down the aisle hand in hand, not starting over, but starting together. The end. Hope you enjoyed this love story by Green Tea Tales. Help our channel to grow with likes, share, and subscribes. Thank you.